Hurricane Katrina impacted New Orleans about 15 years ago, and the city has lived up as the city that cared for God, its moniker dating back far as 1938. Now, most of the city has bounced back, even flourishing and experiencing a record low unemployment rate. But not all neighborhoods of the city have reaped its benefits. The well-known French Quarter represents and celebrates Mardi Gras every year, but it has created a tourist bubble against the rest of the city. The Lower Ninth Ward, only about 4 miles away from the French Quarter, deals with extreme poverty and high crime rates. There are over 22 reported crimes committed in the Lower Ninth Ward daily, which is 213% higher than the national average. New Orleans is already one of the top cities with high poverty rate, reaching about 1 out of 4 residents, but the Lower Ninth Ward makes about 36% of the residents living in poverty. This is why, with our vision, we're proposing to bring care back to the city that care forgot, and identify the opportunities for higher paying, skilled employment. Currently, the nation is dealing with a shortage of blue-collar workers due to the retirement of baby boomers and more people opting to attend a four-year college to earn degrees favoring white-collar jobs. But New Orleans, being part of a city built on blue-collar work, have an opportunity for private companies to partner up with the government and nonprofit organizations for training development.
Residents of the Big Easy have endured many adversities that have plagued the city's poverty troubles: income inequality, lack of affordable housing, low literacy rates, and the opioid epidemic, just to name a few. With the absence of a state level minimum wage rate, Louisiana residents are forced to survive off of the federal minimum wage rate of $7.25 per hour. Studies show, at minimum, residents need to earn 35% more just to cover bare necessities, and single parents with one dependent must earn at least 58% more just to survive. Although government officials are attacking minimum wage on both the state and local levels, the effort is just not enough. Similar to comparable metro areas, New Orleans residents are also faced with a massive affordable housing crisis. 45% of current homeowners are deemed cost burden. City officials, developers, and advocates establish a 10-year plan titled the Housing NOLA that will focus on restoring existing homes, building new homes, and converting commercial buildings into housing units. In New Orleans, almost 2 out of every 5 children are unable to read on a third grade level by the end of the school year. The third grade is a pivotal year where those reading below grade level are prone to dropping out of high school, which ultimately will lead to lower paying jobs. Programs such as the New Orleans Campaign for Grade Level Reading are making huge strides to ensure more and more youth enter the 4th grade reading at the appropriate level. Lastly, in effort to combat the nationwide opioid epidemic, the District Attorney of New Orleans received approval to introduce a brand new mapping program, which will allow officials to track down overdoses in real time. In effort to combat New Orleans' existing poverty issue, we propose a phenomenal concept where a think tank coalition is established to bridge the gap between the community, government, and businesses. As a result, the community and government will benefit from lower unemployment, crime, and poverty rates. Local residents will benefit from an increase in wage, education, healthcare management, and quality of life, while companies will receive tax breaks, gain a larger pool of viable applicants, and larger profit margins.
For the think tank to be successful, we've identified key stakeholders in the process that will require buy-in and continued support, which includes New Orleans residents, business owners, and state and local governments. For residents, we'll want to focus on creating solutions to train those in poverty to step into employment opportunities forecasted to benefit all residents. Poverty places stress and pressure on our social services sector and the government agencies trying to meet those needs. Business owners will also benefit from the alleviation of poverty in the city. Businesses in New Orleans are facing a shortage in the local labor market. Training local residents to satisfy employment opportunities in the growing economy incentivizes businesses to reduce recruiting and relocation costs. Since many of the projected employment growth areas are tied to industrial positions, there is a higher likelihood to implement effective training programs, in contrast to professional positions that require advanced degrees. Finally, state and local governments also feel the strain of poverty on its governance. Despite the positive economic growth following Hurricane Katrina, the city still faces a significant poverty issue, maintaining the highest poverty rate in the country. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell said, "Addressing homelessness is a critical priority for the city. Raising the minimum wage has continued support in both the Louisiana Senate and Congress in order to address the affordability of housing and living costs of New Orleans. Ensuring proper skill sets for local residents would enable them to benefit from this proposed legislation, including those in poverty." Through this coalition, residents, businesses, and the community as a whole will begin to experience a positive change. As the poverty rate decreases, crime and other negative factors that affect social determinants of health will also begin to decrease. As income rises, the community will experience increased revenues through taxes and the ability to implement programs that benefit social welfare. As training programs become more prevalent and streamlined, these opportunities will become part of a new generation's options within their career path. Our specific measures will ensure that we continue to track towards progress in New Orleans and allow us to pivot our plan if need be. This coalition should observe a decrease in both poverty and unemployment over the course of 3 to 5 years after implementation.
Implementation starts with the creation of the think tank, comprised of local businesses, leaders, and professionals to create a long-term strategy. The purpose of the training program is to address the needs of the unemployed, the underemployed, and currently skilled laborers to create a system of training that can make all three groups prosper. With a 3 to 5 year build-up and training period, the Ninth Ward's initiative should be implementable throughout other lower-income, high-poverty areas of New Orleans. This is going to require cooperating with external partners in both the public and private sectors to determine what jobs are available, what are necessary, and also what business sectors should be brought in. Furthermore, the program needs ongoing support from the community, guaranteeing that the needs of the community are being met, that companies involved are keeping up their side of the agreement, and those members that are receiving the training are completing it and entering it into those better jobs. There are certain barriers to entry, including budget concerns and constrictions from both the public and private sectors. Local companies benefit from the lower paid labor and have a reluctance to incorporate skilled workers, which costs more. And the training programs needs strong cooperation from the government and the local businesses to help shoulder some of these financial and or physical burdens. However, the long-term benefits should have exponential gains. The implementation process of the training program has the underlying but incredibly important task of recreating the vision of New Orleans. With an incredibly vibrant and interesting history, it is a travesty to equate New Orleans to nothing more than Mardi Gras and post-Hurricane Katrina hardships. The reduction of poverty is critical to bringing back the vibrancy and jollity that New Orleans is traditionally known for.
As we know, solving poverty is a complex problem, and unique characteristics of cities make it difficult to simply implement lessons learned from other cities. New Orleans was put into the spotlight following Hurricane Katrina and the rebuilding efforts that have been ongoing since. Various programs have been put in place to restore the city, including $109 billion in funding from the federal government to restore the Gulf Coast. This program, along with others targeted specifically at New Orleans, have failed after 15 years to rebuild and supply affordable and sustainable housing for New Orleans residents under or near the poverty line. The limited supply of houses has driven home prices in the market upward and out of the affordability range for many. This is why Housing NOLA, a partnership of residents and nonprofits that joined together to address the affordable housing crisis, have identified low wages as one of the major contributors to this gap. To help resolve the issue of low wages, Louisiana Representative Duplessis and Senator Carter have already sponsored bills to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. While these bills are moving through Congress, many remain hopeful while others express concern. According to the Congressional Budget Office, an increase to $15 an hour would boost wages for 17 million workers nationwide and result in 1.3 million individuals becoming jobless. It's hard to assess if that result translates directly to the New Orleans economy. At the beginning of 2020, New Orleans was projecting an increase of almost 20,000 jobs over the next 2 years. These jobs are important to maintain in order to reduce poverty and increase the city's tax base. If legislation ultimately increases the minimum wage, it may have an adverse effect on business owners and the projected employment numbers. As a result, the city should not rely solely on minimum wage increases and should consider alternative strategies and programs to address the many facets of poverty. There will be some challenges associated with implementing this coalition, but a holistic view of the program, its stakeholders, and the greater micro and macroeconomic outlook suggests that this idea is appropriately positioned to address the issue of poverty. The New Orleans economy is healthy and forecasting growth in the next 2 years. Specific growth is expected in industrial development, creating jobs in construction and the predominant oil and gas industry where labor shortages are expected. Both are industries that could benefit from an effective training program to help qualify workers to fill openings. Additionally, the program is likely to have buy-in from all necessary stakeholders, ranging from Mayor Cantrell and the New Orleans city government to Michael Williamson, the president and CEO of United Way Southeast Louisiana, along with major businesses in the city that recently comprised the New Orleans Advocate Economic Summit. During this summit, the projected growth of the New Orleans economy was celebrated, but it was noted that the economy needs more effort on education, training, and physical infrastructure to make sure key sectors are supported.